Have you seen this clip before? It's a scene from the sitcom Dr. Ken, and it went viral in Korea years after the show actually aired.
She wanted to apologize to you. She assumed you were Korean.
I am Korean.
의사 선생님 한국 분이라는데요.
Hello! 나사가 좀 흐슬하게 빠져요.
What did she say? Oh, you wouldn't understand. It's a Korean thing.
Why was this scene so popular in Korea, and what did each line actually mean? So we're going to break down the Korean lines in this funny scene. We actually have a very special interview with the actor who played the role of the interpreter, so definitely continue watching. I am Hyunwoo and you're watching Talk to Me in Korean. First of all, let's talk about the star of the show, Ken Jeong. Most of you probably know him as the villain, Mr. Chow from the Hangover series. And more recently, he also played the role of Bobby in K-pop Demon Hunters, the manager of Huntrix. He's easily one of the most recognized Korean-American comedians today.
Nice to meet you too.
But interestingly, for a really long time, he wasn't that famous in Korea. In fact, he famously joked on the Conan O'Brien show many years ago that no one in Korea knows who he is.
No one know you here. You not popular. No one know you.
Back then, his style of American comedy wasn't very common in Korea, and the shows and movies he appeared in were also not very well known in Korea yet. But now it's a completely different situation. I think most people know his face and his work, and many even know his name too. And today we're looking at this famous scene from the ABC sitcom Dr. Ken, where the doctor is faced with a Korean patient who doesn't trust the doctor very much because he doesn't speak Korean despite his looks. And the comment section for this clip is full of compliments for the interpreter's Korean. So this person says, 통역사분 한국어 자연스럽다. The interpreter's Korean is natural. And another comment says, 안녕하세요 어머님에서 신뢰도 100% 상승. The part 안녕하세요 어머님 boosted his credibility by 100%. And look at this one. 손 모으는 것까지 wow. 손 모으는 거 means putting your hands together like that in this case. So even putting his hands together, that gesture, wow. And since Ken Jeong's career background isn't widely known to everyone in Korea, someone also wrote this comment explaining that Ken Jeong is a Korean American who was actually a doctor before. So, does Ken Jeong actually speak Korean? Well, he said in several occasions that he doesn't speak a lot of Korean.
Ken Jeong speaks a little bit, like 안녕하세요 means hello, 감사합니다, and that's it.
He knows basic greetings and some curse words, according to an interview he did. So the character Dr. Ken in this show, a Korean-American doctor who doesn't speak Korean, is actually quite close to his real-life persona.
What is the longest one?
Longest one, probably what my dad said to me when I was like, something like that maybe. I think that's what my father...
Now let's get back to the scene and break down the Korean lines.
Mrs. Pei? Oh, no deductible? Oh, they should call you Mrs. Copay. 의사 선생님, 제가 배가 아파가지고 지난 일주일 동안 아무것도 못 먹고 물만 마셨는데 계속 배가 아프네요.
Mrs. Pei, or more accurately in Korean, Pei, her way of talking is 100% authentic Korean grandmother style. She calls him 의사 선생님, like that, with that lingering last syllable, 님, showing an appeal for sympathy. 의사 means doctor, and 선생님 originally means teacher, but it's often added after doctor or nurse to show more respect, like 의사 선생님, 간호사 선생님. It's that much just part of that word already. And then she says, 제가 배가 아파가지고, again with that prolonged last syllable. A more standard form or ending would be 제가 배가 아파서, but this 가지고 ending, 배가 아파가지고, is also very common in spoken Korean. And she says, 지난 이틀 동안, for the past 2 days, 아무것도 못 먹고. She says the part long like that. Like, I couldn't eat anything. So it's similar to that. So 아무것도 못 먹고. So I couldn't eat anything. 물만 마셨는데 I just drank water. But still 계속 배가 아프네요. My stomach keeps hurting. And so the translator is called in to the room.
안녕하세요 어머님. 제 이름은 트로이고요. 통역사입니다. 어디가 앉으세요?
He said the whole thing in a very nice tone, showing a lot of respect and empathy. So we have lots of important details here. First of all, as soon as he finishes talking to Dr. Ken and walks towards the lady, his hands are immediately put together in front of his body because that's a polite stance, like that. And then instead of using her name or saying 환자분, meaning patient, you will sometimes hear that word being used in some hospitals in Korea, 환자분. He says 어머님. 어머님. 어머님, as you know, is something that you say to your friend's mom or acquaintance's mom or your mother-in-law, right? So he says it because she's probably somebody's mom or at least someone's mom's age. 어머님. Very, very respectfully. And he says his name, he introduces himself and says 통역사입니다. I am your interpreter. 통역사, interpreter. But he says it very naturally, like 통역사입니다. Instead of enunciating 통역사입니다, 6 syllables, he says it in 5 syllables, 통역사입니다. This kind of abbreviated pronunciation is also very natural. 어디가 안 좋으세요? A common phrase you will hear in this kind of situation. 어디가 안 좋으세요? Literally meaning 어디, where, 안 좋다, not good. So where is not good? Where are you hurting or where are you not comfortable? In which part do you feel pain? And she explains her symptoms and then he says,
알겠습니다. 네.
알겠습니다. 네. I got it. Okay. 알겠습니다. 네. And then the patient says,
그런데 저 의사 선생님 한국 사람 아닌 것 같아요. 시시하게 농담이나 하고.
진짜요?
그런데 저 의사 선생님 한국 사람 아닌 것 같아요. 그런데 by the way, 저 의사 선생님, that doctor person, 한국 사람 아닌 것 같아요. A Korean person, I think he's not. And then this line, 시시하게 농담이나 하고. 시시하다 means, well, something is trivial, petty, or insignificant. 시시하게, it's an adverb that means in a way that it is trivial, petty, insignificant. 시시하게 농담이나 하고. He's just cracking unnecessary jokes. I'm in pain. I'm having this communication trouble with that doctor and he's just telling jokes. One small detail that I found to be interesting here is that she actually understood that he was telling jokes, even though in this case she doesn't really speak English, right? But anyway, after that Troy says, 진짜요? Oh, really? 진짜요?
She assumed you were Korean.
I am Korean.
의사 선생님 한국 분이라는데요.
의사 선생님 한국 분이라는데요. 의사 선생님, the doctor, he says he's Korean. 한국 분이라는데요. 한국인 or 한국 사람 is how you say a Korean person in the most neutral way, and 한국 분 sounds more polite and honorific here. And 한국 분이라는데요, this 이라는데요 is short for 한국 분이라고 하는데요. They say, or he says, that he's Korean. It's a very common reported speech sentence ending.
나사가 좀 흐슬하게 빠져있는 것 같아요.
And the lady says about the doctor, 나사가 흐슨하게 빠져있는 것 같아요. First of all, let's look at this part. 나사가 빠져있다. 나사 is a screw. 빠지다 means to fall out. 빠져있다 means to have fallen out and it stays the same way. And 나사가 빠져있다 is to have a screw loose. Exactly the same meaning. It is my personal guess that this expression might have come from English. And 흐슨하게, it's not recognized as a standard expression, so it's not in the dictionary. So maybe it's a dialect, maybe it's mispronunciation, I don't know. But the meaning will be clear to any native speaker as the same as 느슨하게, loosely. So it's the same as to have a screw loose. And Troy says, 완전 웃겨, 완전 웃겨 as an exclamation, even though it's not in 존댓말, polite language necessarily. It's okay here because it's an exclamation. He's just putting it in the air. 완전 means completely, 완전, and it's a very natural colloquial expression for very. And 웃겨 means it's funny. So 완전 웃겨, 하하하. And lastly, after the treatment is over, he says to the lady,
2주 후에 다시 오시래요.
감사합니다. 바이바이.
She says bye-bye.
Okay.
2주 후에 다시 오시래요. 2주 후 is 2 weeks later. 다시, once again, 오시래요. So 오다 is to come, 오시다 is to come honorific, but 오시래요 is short for 오시라고 해요. 해요 meaning he says, 말해요, right? Who says? The doctor. The doctor says you need to come back in 2 weeks. 오시래요. So that is a quick breakdown of the lines in this clip. And now a lot of people in the comments were mentioning how natural the interpreter's Korean sounded, right? You would agree, right? So we reached out to the actor. His name is Joshua Reese, and he kindly agreed to speak with us. So thank you, Joshua, for agreeing to be in this video.
Oh, thank you for having me, Hyung Shi.
네, 반가워요.
네, 반갑습니다.
In the scene, you didn't really memorize a few lines and try to act it out. You actually look like a person who speaks Korean. How often do you get to speak Korean?
Not as much these days, but during that time when I was in class and fully immersing myself into learning the language, I was constantly putting myself in those positions. So whether it was, in school and educational settings or listening to podcasts like TTMIK, I've been listening to you guys for a long while. Actually, when I moved back to Pittsburgh, I was recovering from a detached retina and could not go anywhere for 8 weeks. And that's when I discovered Talk to Me in Korean. And I was listening to podcasts every single day for 8 weeks straight back in 2011. So you helped me recover.
Well, that's amazing to hear. So in that kind of specific situation, an audio-based learning must have helped too.
That's really what helped me gain some mastery of the language.
I see. That's amazing. So how and why did you start learning Korean?
In 2009, I was learning Taekwondo. So from there, gotten exposed to the language of Korean and Hangulmal and learned a few phrases growing up. And then when I moved to New York, I wanted to expand my learning with it. After seeing a show called Iris with Lee Byung-hun, it was a very, very cool action show.
And also in the scene, a lot of people were actually writing comments about how natural all your gestures were. Like, for example, when you are walking toward the patient, the lady, your hands are in front of your body. All of those gestures, was it part of the script or did you just do those gestures naturally yourself?
I would say I learned it naturally, just immersing myself in the language and watching a lot of shows. I would watch a lot of, whether it's K-drama or variety shows, and just picking up on little idiosyncrasies from there.
Were there any special memories or interesting things that happened during the scene?
I did. The character that I had, he was originally supposed to be a Korean American, but my manager at the time, he reached out to the casting director. He knew I spoke Korean and he said, you know what? I have a wonderful idea with this wonderful actor that could really help that bit in that scene that you're looking for. And I worked really hard to walk into the audition room and sound as impeccable as I could. Once they saw me and they knew that I could handle the scene, they loved the idea. So even when I walk into the room and Ken Jeong is like, hey, we need a Korean translator. I'm like, yeah, I get that a lot.
Sorry, we needed a Korean translator.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Because, looks can be deceiving in that moment, which the part was kind of changed because it ended up going to me, the part. So it was pretty fun. It was special.
You fit into the role really, really perfectly. Lastly, any fun fact or anything you would like to share with our audience?
A lot of people would be in the comment section having all of these conversations and they would say, oh, this guy he's half Korean, right? And they'd be like, oh yeah, he's half Korean. And I was like, wow, that's news to me. I did not know I was half Korean. I was honored. I was flattered, but I was like, well, I'm not half Korean. No, just, full African American. It was pretty funny though, because all of these people were confirming all of these things. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that about myself.
That's amazing. Thank you, Joshua, for your time. And I hope to see you in Korea when you visit.
Absolutely. If I get back out there, I'm definitely gonna hit you up and hopefully have another interview with you. It'll be great.
Or another drama skit with Talk to Me in Korean. All the coffee, all the soju, all the samgyeopsal will be on us. So be sure to reach out.
Hey, say less.
So, what did we learn today? This scene from Dr. Ken is a great example of how language connects people in unexpected ways. The patient felt more comfortable with the interpreter because he understood her language and culture. It is, I think, a nice reminder that language breaks down barriers and builds trust. By speaking someone's language, you can become their friend and be a more natural part of the conversation. And Ken, if you ever get to watch this, and if you ever need to or want to brush up on your Korean, give us a call. And everybody else watching, if you want to be like Troy in this clip or Joshua Reese in real life, you can learn to speak Korean confidently with our systematic curriculum and proven methods. Please check out the links in the description for all of our tools and resources. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown, and please let me know in the comments if there are other scenes you would like us to analyze. I'll see you next time. 감사합니다.